All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a massive new energy law in Illinois, Senate Bill 25. And look, this is a huge billion-dollar bet on the future of the state's power grid, and it's absolutely going to have a direct impact on your wallet.
So you gotta ask, right? Why is Illinois betting billions on a brand new energy grid? Well, let's dive into that, because the state is staring down a pretty critical problem that this new law is trying to fix.
And listen, this isn't just some hypothetical. State officials are basically sounding the alarm. You've got Jonathan Feipel from the Illinois Commerce Commission saying it plain as day. The demand from data centers and new manufacturing is skyrocketing. And if they don't do something big and do it now, they're looking at blackouts. I mean, blackouts. That's the real threat here.
So, in response to that warning, lawmakers pushed through what they're calling the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act. And, as you're about to see, this thing is sweeping and very controversial.
Now, supporters, and that includes Governor J.B. Pritzker, they're framing this as an absolutely essential step forward. They say it's all about modernizing the grid, boosting clean energy, and, this is the key promise, ultimately lowering costs for you.
Okay, so what's actually in this bill? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, because there are two policies in here that are total game changers.
I mean, look at this list. The bill is sprawling. It covers massive investments in battery storage, it lifts a 40-year ban on new nuclear plants, it creates something called virtual power plants, it expands regulators' power, it even gets into union labor jobs. But really, the two things you absolutely need to know about are the huge bet on batteries and that major U-turn on nuclear power.
So, first up, grid-scale battery storage. What is that? Well, picture these massive battery installations that basically act like giant power banks for the entire state. They soak up extra energy when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, and then they release it back to the grid when everyone's cranking up the AC. The whole point is to prevent blackouts and keep prices from going haywire.
Okay, but how is this all getting paid for? This is where it gets really interesting. Step 1, the state encourages these new storage projects. Step 2, a new charge gets added right onto your utility bill. That's going to start in 2030. Now, here's the promise from supporters. They claim that the savings you'll get from a more reliable grid will kick in before that new charge even shows up, basically canceling it out. We'll see.
All right, the second game changer is this massive shift on nuclear power. Before this bill, there was a 40-year ban, 4 decades, on building new large-scale nuclear plants in Illinois. Well, Senate Bill 25 completely lifts that ban, opening the door for new nuclear facilities. And that's a huge deal for a state that's already a nuclear powerhouse.
So naturally, this brings us to the billion-dollar debate. It's really a clash between two very different views: affordability versus investment. Is this a smart move for the future, or is it just a guaranteed rate hike for everybody?
The proponents, like Senator Steve Stadelman, are making their case pretty forcefully. They're saying, look, this package is about making energy more affordable for ratepayers in the years ahead. Their argument is simple. If we do nothing, rates are just going to keep going up anyway. This is about getting ahead of the curve.
But on the other side, you have the critics, and they see this in a completely different light. Senator Lee Arellano Jr. says they've passed a bill that removes limits on how much utilities can raise rates, thus forcing customers to pay billions to wealthy corporations. So from their perspective, this is a blank check for utilities with no protection for regular people.
And this table really lays out that core disagreement perfectly. You have the proponent saying, hey, savings will offset the new charges, we'll get a modern, clean grid, and regulators will manage it all. But the critics are worried. They see a guaranteed multi-billion-dollar rate hike, they're concerned it undermines the free market, and they say it strips local towns of their control over where these things get built. It's two totally different visions of the future.
So, to make this a little more real, check out this number: $1,047,312. What is that? That's what the Illinois Manufacturers Association projects this bill will cost just one large auto manufacturer every single year by 2045. That really puts the scale of this debate into perspective, doesn't it?
Okay, so after all that, let's bring it home. What does this all mean for you and your future electric bill? So here are the key dates you need to watch. The bill was just signed into law. Now fast forward to 2029, that's when the state projects that the cost increases will be canceled out by savings. And then the very next year, 2030, that's when the new energy storage charge officially pops up on everybody's utility bill. And really, that's what this all boils down to. This whole thing forces everyone in Illinois to ask a really tough question. What is the right price for a modern, reliable power grid?
In a world where our need for electricity is just exploding, what's that worth? And who should be the one to foot the bill?